All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our monthly planning party. I'm super excited to get started. This is a very unique call because for the first time ever, we're combining 3 different programs that I run on monthly planning parties. So that's super fun. So not necessarily everyone will be on the calls, but getting the replay. So we've got my group program, the quarterly. We've got women from Q3 and Q4. We've got my Life is Planned mastermind that kicks off next week joining us. And we've got all of you lovely ladies that bought the planning party bundle. So some of you are 3 months, some of you are 6 months, but you'll definitely be seeing each other around for the next few calls, which is great. Just a reminder for those of you, if this is your first monthly planning party, as you can tell, we do video. So this is just a fun way. Again, you do not have to do video. So if at any time you would like to turn your video off, please feel free to do so. I do pause the recording during all of our work times, so don't feel like people are going to be awkwardly watching you work for like 5 minutes or whatever, because the recording pauses, so they will never be watching that. So even though you're on screen, you're not on the recording. So just a note about that. And I'm super excited. So we've got the link to the worksheet is now in the chat. Thank you, Glenneth, for finding that faster than me. And I believe that should be everything. So you guys are going to want the same things that you had out for your quarterly planning party. You're going to want to have access to your calendar. You're going to want to have a notebook. You also are going to want to have your quarterly planning party worksheets open, because a lot of the work that we do in there, you're going to just take a few minutes and go, okay, I'm going to retype that, or I'm going to copy and paste and read it over again. That's one of the brilliant things about the monthly planning party, guys. We don't reinvent the wheel. We go back to what we said was important and we remind ourselves of what is important. And so you're going to want to have that. And I believe other than your worksheet and a notebook and your quarterly worksheet, then that should be all that you need. So welcome. So many of you, this is actually your first monthly planning party, which is super exciting. So I'm glad that you could make it. For those of you that are live, or for those of you that are watching the replay. So thank you for tuning in. I'm going to go back to the chat because we have kind of people from everywhere. And if you didn't comment before, let us know. But we've got Fort Worth, Texas, Hayesville, Ontario, Metro DC, Belleville, Ontario, Knoxville, Tennessee, because I know where Glenneth lives, Lexington, Kentucky, right? KY is Kentucky. Okay. You guys know I'm Canadian when I'm like, what's that state? And Dora, who's from Portugal, which we're very excited about that. And Lauren is in Palm City, Florida. Ooh, Florida. I'd love me some Florida weather right now. I can tell you what, there's something nice about fall, but I would like summer to stay just a little bit longer. All right, so if you are currently in the quarterly, just a really quick reminder, I would love for you to share your feedback about this month with me. There's a short survey in the course, so if you could take a few minutes to do that, that would really support me, and I would love that. All right, so what we're going to cover, we're going to review this past month. So we're going to be reviewing September, which just happened, some lessons learned, a lot of the same things as we do in the quarterly planning party, but we put a bit more emphasis on some different areas, which you guys will notice. But we still look at our vision and focus areas for 2019. We still review our priorities, because without those, we end up with SOS, which is shiny object syndrome, right? Where we just bounce around and around and around and do all the things. So that's one of the reasons why we stay focused on that. And we are going to look at blocking previous commitments. And one of the things that we do we'll break down and plan some of our projects and things we've got going on. But one of the other big things that we do on a monthly planning party that we don't do on a quarterly one is we go through our month in a much more detailed way. And so we will get to that during the schedule part, which I'm excited about. And Jay is like, hey, we're technically international again, beyond America. But yes, so usually we've been North American for the last 3 months. And so it's fun to have some more international blood, because we've had Algeria, we've had Malaysia, we've got a few Australians. They just haven't been able to be on calls. Germany, England. So yeah, it's fun. So good. All right. Well, this is what we're going to do. We actually start monthly planning parties with introductions, because it's great. So, but here's the thing. They're super short and simple. You give us your name. Then you let us know your focus for today's planning party. So I do believe that all of you have been on live, a quarterly planning party, where I talk about, is this mainly on your business or your job or your personal, or do you have a very specific project this month, or is it an overview? So kind of just give us a direction as to what it is that you're focusing on during this planning party. And then the other thing that I would love for you to do is let us know your biggest planning win or your biggest planning challenge this past month. So either something you tried that was new that like worked for you and you are like, yes, absolutely. Or your biggest planning challenge. What was not working out for you? So I will put those questions in the chat for you guys. And everybody on video, good to do an introduction on video. And then for those of you not on video, feel free to either join us or if you don't, just type out your introduction and I will read it. Okay, so these are like 30 seconds. Hey guys, my name is Catherine. My focus for today's planning party is going to be an overview because there's some personal stuff that I've been dropping the ball on, so I don't want to just focus on my business. And my biggest planning challenge this past month was having full-time work hours for the first time in over 2 years and packing lunches every day and figuring that out. So that's been fun and interesting. I need to readjust a few things for the coming month. All right, so that's me. All right, this is the next 3 people in this order. Gleneth, Jennifer, Lisa. Go.
Hi, I'm Gleneth, and my focus for today is going to be kind of an overview. I need to get my October calendar set digitally so my clients can schedule calls for October. And since I have a cornea transplant towards the end, I've got to really make sure I've got time blocked off. My biggest challenge in September was vacation because of the hurricane, and we kept having to postpone it, waiting for it to move on out so we could go to the beach. But we luckily made it.
All right, Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. My focus for now is going to be growth. I have stationary wholesale clients that I'm trying to reach out to more often, and I have a subscription box that I'm going to try growing from infancy. And then my biggest win was meeting a Kickstarter goal for the sub box. Yay! And then my biggest challenge was not reaching out enough to the wholesale clients. So that's something I need to get past.
Nice. All right, Lisa.
All right, I'm Lisa, and I did the replay of the quarterly planning party, so I'm like 2 days off of that. My focus today is routines that simplify and bring peace in the daily life. Just had twins start school, and so everything is different. It's like take normal and flip it upside down, because now I have exhausted kids, not energetic kids. My biggest challenge in the past month was actually solved a little bit as I learned by the 2X rule. I was having a really hard time. I was trying to plan and put things into timeline, but my timelines weren't holding up. It was, and then I felt like I was failing. And so I've been really inspired by the 2X rule to plan twice as much time for a project, and that's been really helpful. And I can always use extra time if I end up getting the project done early, whether it's to put my feet up or whatever. So that is me.
So good. Love it, love it, love it. All right. Hi, Courtney, by the way. You joined since we started doing our introductions. All right. So the next 3, I'm just going like in order across my screen. So Melanie, and then Emily, and then Lauren. Take it away, Melanie.
Hey, so my focus for today is mostly business. I think I might plan some personal stuff because there's some goals that keep falling by the wayside. Let's see, the biggest challenge probably has been an ongoing challenge for me. So it's balancing client work with working on my business, because I always plan the time to work on my business, but then I hardly ever actually do it. I do client work instead. So that's been my biggest planning challenge.
Awesome. Emily?
Oh, unmute. while I'm finishing my granola. So hi, I'm Emily. This month I'm going to be doing an overview. I'm really excited, happy that the quarterly party helped me meet a really early Q4 deadline. I had a grant due, or I have a grant due on October 4th. So that's kind of out of the way, or almost out of the way. So yeah, just looking at the big picture for the rest of the month. The challenge for me this month was I had a doctor's, like a really big doctor's appointment on September 20th, and my whole life was just kind of waiting for that. Just to kind of, I couldn't picture life after that date kind of thing, or what it was going to mean. So now that it's over, I'm like, okay, I can carry on with life now, and I really want to put the things in order that I need to. And then a win was childcare. So school started again, which comes with its own challenges, obviously, but it's also great. And then my youngest is 7 months. So I've scheduled regular time on Fridays with a babysitter for the morning. And I mentioned the quarterly party using the YMCA's services. So 2.5 hours every day. So he made it like $22 a month. So it's I'm not an affiliate with them or anything. It's just really awesome. So yeah, that's me.
Love it. Love it. All right, Lauren, you can go. And then anyone else who's not on video, I saw that Jay just posted hers. So maybe I think that's it. Unless Dora, you want to go ahead and post in the chat too. Well, Lauren goes, hi, Carson.
Hi. Yeah. So this is Carson. So what I'm working on is I'm in transition in my business. So working on the details for that. And my biggest challenge is this guy. So I only have 6 hours of childcare a week. And lately my husband's been working 12-hour shifts, which means that all day from when he wakes up to when he goes to bed, it's all just me, besides those 6 hours of childcare. So, and then evenings, since my husband's home so late, it's like by the time we finish dinner and cleaning up, it's 8 p.m. I'm exhausted and my husband wants to hang out. So I don't get any evening time to work on my business.
Yes, all of those things contribute to figuring out, right? What is most important? What do we focus on? All right, Courtney, you go ahead and do your intro, and then I will read what's in the chat. You need to unmute yourself. Can you find it? Yep.
Like that?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Courtney. I am 25 and I own a ballet studio. And I've always just hoped to God it works out. And I'm so excited that there's a possibility to like actually think forward on deadlines. So I am new to all of this. The 2X rule seems like something that's going to make my life a whole lot more approachable. So I'm looking forward to figuring out how to look ahead at deadlines is really what I'm looking for as we come up on a new dance year.
Yeah, so exciting. So for those of you that don't know, I have a background in dance. So the fact that Courtney runs a dance studio made me really excited because I was a dance teacher for over 20 years and went to college for dance and ran an arts academy for 7 years. So anyway, we should talk because I knew you were like in the dance world, but I didn't know you ran a studio. So anyway, we should chat. Okay, and Jay, focus for today's planning party is personal, biggest planning win, notable progress in prepping and arriving on time or early for things in personal and work realms, which is so exciting. And yeah, those are big things. All right, so I think everyone went. You guys, oh, Dora's popping on. Yay, yay, there you are. We can see you. Can you unmute yourself?
Is it my turn right now?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, hello guys. I'm such a newbie here. So I'm Polish, but I live in Portugal, in Lisbon. My focus for this planning party, it will be business too. In 2.5 months, I'm organizing a conference for busy moms. And this is my main focus. When it comes to my biggest win, I would say it would be landing my first speaker that I actually met in person. And when it comes to challenges, actually readjusting to the school world. My baby girl went to kindergarten a few days ago. So yeah, we had to change our routines with my freelance work and everything. So this was quite a challenge, but well, it's getting easier every day. So I'm glad.
Awesome. I love it. And I'm so excited for your conference that you're hosting. It's going to be so good. All right. Well, thank you guys all for doing that. We won't always answer all of those questions on the intro, but I think especially since it's going to be the same group of us going through these next few months, it's really helpful to have this face-to-face introduction, understanding what's going on. So that's really great. All right. We are going to move into the reflection portion of the planning party, which is really the very first step. So if you've got your worksheet open, does everyone have that? Do we need to post the link again? Or is everybody good? Let us know. All right, you guys have got it. So the very first section is reflection. These are the same questions as the quarterly planning party because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. However, you're looking at a different period of time. So instead of looking back at your whole quarter, you're only looking back at this last month. So what are you grateful for? What were some highlights? What did you learn about yourself? Major milestones. How did you celebrate them? What do you need to adjust, stop, start? What part of the planning process went well or was challenging? And some of you answered those questions already in your introduction. So we are going to set a timer for, where's my timer? Here we go. For 5 minutes. And I want you to just take a few minutes, deep breath, close your eyes, put some music on. Guys, a lot of people play music and soundtracks while we are on planning parties. So feel free during these work sessions to do that. I'm going to start a 5-minute timer. Answer the questions that resonate with you, that are really sitting with you right now. Don't feel like you have to go through an order. Just skim through it and answer the ones that maybe things are coming to mind. You're like, oh my gosh, I need to answer that question because I need to figure this out. And so I will pause the recording. So for those of you watching the replay, I will pause this, take more time, take as much time as you want. And then whenever you come back, just press play and we will continue again. All right, sound good? And if you do have questions, I do my best to keep an eye on the chat and I will reply to questions in the chat, or I'll say, actually, I'm going to talk about that when we come back on video so that everyone can hear the answer. So we'll see what happens, but let's take 5 minutes, answer some of these questions, look back at September so we can learn our lessons and not repeat some of the same things in October, and we can adjust as opposed to starting over. All right? Sound good. We'll be back in 5. All right. So hopefully that was helpful for you. There's usually some really good awareness and reflection that is happening. And so does anybody want to share something that was kind of whoa, that popped out, or wow, I didn't celebrate that, or something that really jumped out for you? If you're on video, just go ahead and unmute yourself.
I did not celebrate my Kickstarter. I realized that. I'm like, it was a big goal and I met it. So I think my celebration was buying all the stuff for the sub box, like being able to go buy the pens and the paper and all that. But I didn't pop a cork or anything like that.
The cool thing about celebrating is that it can look like anything. It can look like you standing up and just doing a dance party. You know what I mean? Or it could be going for a bigger walk, or it can look like anything. So yeah.
Nothing.
So choose something. Choose something. It's not too late to celebrate.
Okay.
How about I'll just have a dance party for you right now. Okay, here's Jennifer's Kickstarter party. Oh yeah, okay. Do you feel celebrated?
Yes.
Because we are all over North America and we just danced for you. So love it. Anybody else? Oh, Jay said this in the chat. She said an emotion coming up is peace and excitement despite big change in planned and expected income. So that's amazing. The fact that even though there's massive change, you're still feeling peace and excitement and realizing that, it's so good. Yeah. Anybody else have something that they'd like to share? Emily.
The one thing for me was, like I mentioned about the doctor's appointment, it really made me realize that I need to give myself some more, grace and space around some of those things, because it's a whole new territory for me. And I'm usually a very type A person in many ways. Like, I need to know what's going on, and then I feel safe going forward. And I'm not realizing how much it's like taking out of me, because I think, oh, it's, you know, it's one appointment, but meanwhile it takes up a lot of other space around that. So I think I just need to plan out more rest kind of surrounding that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then figuring out school was a huge thing. I thought, oh, like they're going away for the whole day. Yay, I have so much time. But I forgot that, you know, that morning rush and the after school rush, it takes up a lot of time and energy too. And like I said, I'm figuring out how much energy I have to work with in a day. So it's like, okay, how do you balance things? So
yeah,
yeah,
totally. Also, I feel like even though you and Lisa are going through totally different journeys and what you're working with, I feel like you guys would connect on the health challenges, all the things going on. So anyway, that's all.
perfect.
I'll
Thanks.
try to, maybe if you guys ever, actually, this would just be great. If you guys all want to throw, if you're open to connecting with each other on Instagram, which I always recommend, just throw your Instagram handle in the chat, and then everybody can follow each other and encourage each other. And it's always super great. So yeah, go ahead and do that. All right, let's talk about priorities, shall we? One of my favorite topics, although much harder to sometimes walk out than it is to talk about. But you guys know how important it is to prioritize and focus. You've been on a planning party. You've seen it in action. You've seen the value of it, even if it took some convincing, or even if it took some of the women on the quarterly planning party being like, guys, listen to Catherine. She knows what she's talking about. Don't take on too many things. So if you heard some cheerleaders like that on the call, and that is why you set less priorities than you wanted to, then I'm happy too. It doesn't matter what gets you there. But it's really important for us to remind ourselves what is important for the rest of 2019, and our vision and areas of focus. So a couple things to keep in mind when you're doing this, which we get into more on a monthly basis: self-care, self-love, time alone, whatever you call it. It doesn't matter. Self-care is such like a buzzword right now, and it means so many different things to so many people. But the bottom line is that you as a person need to take care of yourself so that you can do all the other things that you want to do. So that doesn't mean that self-care needs to be one of your top 3 priorities. It just means when we get down to the scheduling piece and going through our month day by day and looking at things and putting stuff in our calendar, we got to find time somewhere for us. And so this is just my friendly reminder. It could be thinking about food, relaxing, fun activities, getting outside, exercise, whatever it is, a night, a month that you do something for yourself, whatever that is. But just keep that in mind as we are moving forward. So I'm just going to give you guys 2 minutes for this as I close my timer. That was well done. To review your word for the year and your vision and focus areas. So you can literally copy and paste this or rewrite it from your quarterly planning party. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. But if you do copy and paste, go through and read it all. Okay, that is important. It is important that you actually like reread it, take a few minutes and go, okay, this is what I said is important for this last quarter of the year. Now, before I create my plan, I'm going to make sure that this is still a priority. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Timer's on. All right. So does everyone feel resettled, reaffirmed in their priorities? You know what your word is, what your focus areas are. You know what your top 3 priorities are for this quarter. We're good? All right. Now comes the fun part that everyone loves the most. Now you need to choose 3 priorities for this month. Now, that can look different, okay? So actually, what I'd love is if any of you want to put your 3 priorities for the quarter in the chat. We can use them as examples and reference them because that's super helpful. And I'll just read you mine. as a starting point. So my first priority for the quarter is launching. I have 2 courses that are going to have open cart, closed cart coming up. I have a live retreat. And then I have one-on-one offers. So being able to open up planning spots where we can dive in and I can help someone with a project plan. So launching is my one priority. My second priority for the quarter is content and messaging. So that includes like content consistently, website homepage, and like there's a few little projects wrapped in there, but it's about content and messaging for Modern Planner. Then my third priority is simple routines for home. Okay. Asking for help, finding ways to simplify, all of that. So then it's taking those 3 things and saying, okay, to move those forward in October, how do I simplify this? Because I cannot move all of those things forward. Like that's just not going to happen. So an example for me in October, in terms of launching, I am focusing on my Cultivate Your Content course, which you guys are getting a sneak peek of, I guess, right now because I'm telling you about it. Okay, so that, for instance, is I'm taking one of those launch pieces, and that is my focus in October because it launches October 24th. So that is one of my priorities in October. My second priority in October is content related, and so that is creating and executing my first 4 weeks of my fall content. So that is what I'm focusing on. I'm not going to work on my website or these other things. Like that is the priority, is newsletter and content. Okay. And then with simple routines. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling out one little piece from each of my quarterly priorities. That's how I'm doing it for this month, but that's not always how it is. My simple routines for home, we are finding someone to clean our house. And so we have someone coming on Monday, and then we're doing another test in October with somebody else. And so my goal by the end of October is to know who I'm going to be doing this, have a regular schedule set up, and then we're just going to roll with it. Okay, so that's how I'm actually pulling it. I'm saying these were my 3 priorities for the quarter, and I'm taking a little project out of each of those and saying this is my focus in October. Okay. Now, that's not always how it works. Sometimes you're going to be pulling 2 from one because you're like, this is the most important thing. I'm pulling 2 projects out of this and then 1 out of here or whatever. Maybe some of you have a maintenance task. Like maybe you've got a massive client deadline and it wasn't one of your priorities for the quarter because it's a maintenance task, but maybe it's a big, big thing that needs to be one of your priorities for the month. So sometimes it could be a maintenance task that actually becomes something that is a priority for a month. Does that help anybody? Yeah? Okay. I love how many of you are excited about the housekeeping thing. My husband, when he was single, he had a cleaning lady, the same person, for like 7 years before we got married. We kept her when we got married for like 3 or 4 until we started doing Airbnb in our house, and then she left. And so we've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years now, but anyway, I'm excited. Okay, so I want to look at some of your priorities to give you examples. So Lisa, routines that simplify was one of, that is your main, and then you've got different categories, but it's all about routines that simplify and bring peace. Got it. So then for Lisa, as an example, she could pick one of those main categories and pick a smaller thing in that she's going to work on and develop a habit in. So you were posting your quarterly goals in the chat so that I can help with if you guys have questions about how to make those October goals. So, but go ahead, and Gleneth posted her monthly ones, totally fine. So I want you guys to go ahead now and choose what your 3 priorities are for October. I'm just gonna look at some of your quarterly stuff. Emily, professional launching, relationships with routines, and financial grant application, family budget. So obviously a great example for Emily is one of her priorities is going to be this grant application, but it's going to be done by October 4th. So she could have a 4th priority in the wings going, okay, family budget. As soon as this is done, the last 3 weeks of October, I'm going to work on budget. And you are allowed to do that. Okay, it's not a hard and fast 3 priority thing. The goal is that don't have 7, don't have 8, have 3, and there will always be other things in the wings that you can pull in. Okay. Awesome. So you guys are posting your quarterly goals, new biz packages, set up new websites, start with new clients. Awesome. Quarterly goals, intentionally execute the Nutcracker. Oh yes, because we were talking about the Nutcracker. Now I remember all of that fun stuff. Systems for self-care and routine. Okay, so for instance, the Nutcracker is obviously going to be one of your priorities in October. It probably is like the big one. So then what I would do for systems is pick one routine, one self-care thing that you are going to do. Because what happens is we say, oh, I'm going to work on my physical health this month, and I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. If you want to improve your sleep, drink more water, get outside more, and do all of those things, don't start them all at one time, as we all have a drink of water. Or a smoothie. Don't try doing them all at one time. Pick one thing and get really, really good at that one thing so that it is a habit and it becomes a maintenance task. Guys, did you know that habits can be maintenance tasks too? So you have a new habit you want to introduce. After you do it long enough, it becomes normal and it becomes a maintenance task, and it's no longer a priority or a habit that you need to introduce because it's just part of your regular life. Do any of you have to brush your teeth before bed on your schedule? If you do, let's talk. No, I'm just kidding. But like some of those things, like we don't really need to think about them anymore. It's something that we just do. For me though, stretching in the morning is something I'm still having to think about. I got out of habit in the summer, right? And was up earlier, totally shifted things. So now I'm like, okay, now I need to do this. My 10 or 15 minutes on my mat, doing my simple routine, right? So, do you guys all have your October? You've broken down what your October priorities are now? Oh, look at you. I love it, Jennifer. Emails out to wholesale every day. You've already started your plan. Launch your subscription box with Founder Weeks and maintain stocks. I love it. Stock is in the stock for your store, as in, or stocks is in investment stocks. Investment stocks, okay. I was like, just, curious which way that goes. Solidify very basic morning and evening routine, add financial education study to routines. Oh, so good. By the way, if anyone wants to learn or grow in finances, and somebody else said family budget, and there's been a couple mentions on this thing. A few of my favorite resources is youneedabudget.com is so good for family budgeting, and their software is amazing. And I've been using it for like 8 years, probably. But it's awesome. A book to buy and read or borrow from the library is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. One of the best books on finances there is. And if you're into podcasts and listening to people that are going to make you think really, really big about money, then Chris Harder and his podcast For the Love of Money is a really great one. So those touch on like very different aspects of money, but I just thought I'd throw that out there because there's multiple of you that had that as something that you are working on. Yes. Okay. So everyone's got their top 3 for October. We're good? Okay. Sweet. Let us move on to planning. So we talked about these 4 planning approaches on the quarterly planning party. So the 4 planning approaches, and they are in your worksheet for you, are next step, project plan, daily habit, and weekly action. So we're going to do the exact same thing. Just a quick refresher. Next step is for something like, actually budget is a great example of a next step. Okay, we want to get on a budget. What's the first thing that we want to do? You know what? We want to pick a system that we're going to use to keep track of our money, or we are going to actually look at what we've been spending for the last 6 months and review that. Okay, and then you do that, and then you say, okay, now what's the next step? Same thing with, I'm trying to think of, like healthy habit building. So for those of you that have like routines and stuff, that could be a next step. This is what I want to do. Ideally, I want to have 3 pieces to this routine, but I'm going to start with this one. And then once that is feeling solid, I'm going to add this step to my routine, right? So that's a way that you could do next step. A second planning approach is project plan. And so we can dive into that. But the project plan is deciding the direction. What is the end of this going to look like, right? We used Courtney's Nutcracker as a great project plan example on one of last week's quarterly. Which one was it? The Tuesday night? No, the Thursday call. Okay, so if anyone watched the Tuesday night, you wouldn't have seen it. But if you were on the Thursday call, then you identify what your restrictions are. What are the obstacles and the restrictions that could possibly keep you from completing those things? Then you define your key phases. And we went into that on that call as well. Like, how do you decide what a phase is? A lot of times your phases are weeks. This week, especially when you're talking just about a month now. Okay, so this is where quarterly planning and monthly planning shifts a little bit because you're getting more detailed. So your key phases when you're planning something for a quarter might be month by month, or they might be 2 weeks, but when you're planning a month, for sure it might be like a 1 week time period. Or maybe you're still doing phases like marketing, choreography, right? Like there's these different things, or confirming speakers, right? So you're going to have a phase that's like all about speakers. And then Dora's next phase might be like building out her marketing materials and her sales page, right? So there's different phases with that. And then the last piece of project planning is to create a detailed plan. So we write down all our actions. You can get a lot more detailed when you're planning your month than you can or should when you're planning your whole quarter. Because if you plan in super big detail for an entire quarter with all of the things, it can get overwhelming super fast. Okay, the third approach is daily habit. So some of you already write that, like Jennifer already wrote, I want to send an email to a wholesaler daily. So she basically already had chosen her planning approach when she chose that priority, right? And then weekly action is when you're taking a bigger chunk of your week and you're going to focus on something for a longer period of time. So now it is work time. So I'm going to set a timer, and what I want you to do is write each of your priorities in those boxes, your top 3 priorities, and then I want you to choose the planning approach or combination. Most of the time we're using a combination of them, and I want you to identify your planning approaches for each of those top 3 priorities. And then if you get that done, I also want you to choose one focus area that you think you want to spend the time on this call creating your plan and going into more detail for. All right, so let me see. We're going to do 3 minutes. Hey, you guys, before we get into creating these plans, I just have to say, you guys have a lot of incredible October goals. I was scrolling through them and like somebody said like read 4 books. I was like, you want to read 4 books in October? I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And like, just like some of the things that you guys are doing and launching. And I was like, ooh, anyway, so fun. And I loved Lisa's aha for kids literacy because you were like, I don't really know how to tackle this because they're all at different stages. So using next step and customizing it for each of them and just be like, all right, when they get this, then they move on to the next. And like, that's it. Not having like this really clear, like laid out plan of like what we're going to do and structure. So anyway, I love it. Well, you guys, does everyone have their one thing? Type your one thing. Type your one thing that you're going to plan. Type it in the chat. Let us know, let us know, let us know what it is that you are going to focus on. Courtney says advertising. Nice. Creating new biz packages. Sweet. Launch plan. Ooh, with or without grant funding. Good idea. Start to systematize the biz. New word, guys. Launch the subscription box and founder week promotion. And starting to outline that because there's motivation. Yay, I love that Lisa's like, I'm going to pick the one that I have motivation for right now. So good. So good. Okay. I am going to do October content because that's also the one I'm feeling motivated by. And I have a huge project plan for my course already. So that one doesn't need a whole lot of planning. All right, you guys ready to do this? What time did we start? We started at 1. Okay. We're doing pretty good. We still need some solid time for scheduling. So let's do 6 minutes. Okay. 6 minutes to get as much as you can out of your head onto paper, plan that project, write down your ideas, find your books, do some research, whatever is going to help give you that kickstart. So kickstart, No pun intended there, Jennifer. Whatever is going to help you start October strong, knowing that, okay, I have got a solid plan for this one priority. All right, 6 minutes. I will pop into the chat while we're doing that. All right. So how's everyone feeling about that priority? Do you feel like you've got a bit of a plan in place, some next steps, at least your next few actions, even if you don't have it all planned out? Because that's the goal, is you won't necessarily have your full plan, and that's okay. Because here's the other thing to remember. You could spend all the time in the world. These planning parties could be 3 or 4 hours long, so that you get absolutely everything planned out for all your priorities and all your maintenance tasks, and your calendar is like absolutely gold, right? However, the thing is that life doesn't always go as planned, and then it throws us curveballs, or something goes faster or slower than we think, and then there's such a thing as over planning, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so I want to encourage you not to try to over plan so much. So for instance, an example of having a great plan would be having all of your tasks and everything, having rough timelines, and then blocking time in your calendar when you're going to work on that. Over planning would be taking all of those very, very specific, like tasks, and putting all of those tasks in the sections in your schedule where it's like, oh, this is exactly when I'm going to do all of those little tasks. That's where we can get into the over planning piece of it. Okay, if that makes sense. So create your list of things to do, create time in your calendar to do it, but don't tell yourself exactly when you have to do every little piece, because the likelihood of that happening is very low based upon energy. Sometimes we're just not feeling the energy to do a specific task, and we need to do something that's appealing to us. So as long as we're still moving our priorities forward, we want to be able to adjust and be flexible with all of that, if that makes sense. All right, so let's look at the plan that you just created. What we want to do is add deadlines and timelines and time blocks and get that into your calendar. So if you have said that one of your planning approaches is going to be daily habit, I want you to actually create something in your calendar when you're going to do that daily habit. If you have said you're going to move this forward weekly or maybe twice a week, I want you to open your calendar and look for those times twice a week when you are going to move those things forward. If you have said you've got a project plan and you're going to try to move it ahead every day, can you give yourself 60 to 90 minutes to move that project ahead? Can you give yourself 30 minutes? Maybe it can't be 60 or 90, but what can you give yourself? How can you set that time aside? So let's spend a few minutes. I'm going to give us a 5-minute timer. And so I want you to take what you just did, that project that you've got, and give it a timeline, put deadlines in your calendar, and add time blocks of when you are going to move those things forward. Does that make sense? Everything's clear as mud? No, that's good. All right, let's do that. All right, well, there goes the timer. All right, so this is what I want you to do now. I would like you to find some time in your calendar when you're going to be able to review those other 2 priorities you have for the month of October, and when you'll be able to review those and put them in your calendar. So like all that stuff we just did in the last 15 minutes with that one priority, I want you to make sure that you set time to do that. So open your calendar right now and find some time. And the great thing is that October doesn't start for 5 more days. So that means that there is still some time for you to go, okay, what are these other things? How am I going to make this happen? So open your calendar, say done, yes, got it, some sort of affirmation in the chat when you've got time booked in to finish off your monthly plan. This is me like dancing to elevator music that only exists in my head while I wait for you guys to put it all in your calendar. Anyway, not awkward at all, right? Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. No, who cannot work while I do that? All right. My recommendation, Dora, is that you pick a specific date. So like Courtney said, she's like, this Friday from 10 till 11, I'm going to sit down and make sure my October calendar is good to go. I've got all my planned stuff. So that's what I would recommend, that you actually in the next 5 days, give yourself some time. For instance, one of the things after, we're going to do one more big step where we go chronologically through our calendar. I always recommend that if you have a partner or a significant other or spouse of any kind, any definition that you use, that you connect with them about this calendar that you've got going for October. Let them know what your priorities are. Let them know what you're focusing on, and review some of the stuff that pertains to them. Ask them questions. I always have a list of questions for Joseph when we go through our monthly calendar together. And I'm like, okay, this is the stuff that we currently have booked. We've talked about this being a priority for us for this quarter. This is where it's showing up. This is not where it's showing up. You mentioned offhandedly a couple weeks ago you wanted to get together with these people. So here's a few options. This is what I think. Would you like me to reach out? Right? So like those different kinds of things that will just come up naturally. But it's important to have this step where you finish it, and then you also want to make sure that you're connecting with somebody as well, if that is important for you. All right, good. All right, let us go through our calendar. This is one of the things that is always very helpful on the monthly planning parties, and we are going to walk through our calendar chronologically. You can choose to either start today and finish this month and then go into October, or if you know that this week and weekend is solid, mine is not, by the way. If you know that the rest of September is solid, then skip ahead to October 1st. You go, girl, whatever works for you. Mine is not, so I'm going to be starting today. So what I want you to do is walk chronologically. These are some of the things that you are paying attention to, okay? It's a long list. So, but just hopefully this sparks something for you. Do you have any personal deadlines, things? Do you have bills that you have to pay on certain dates? When are you working on your budget? When are you grocery shopping? When are you meal planning? Did you know you could actually block that in your calendar ahead of time? Oh, right? Okay, business, taxes. Like if you've got a big, like this isn't the end of a quarter. So a lot of people that pay quarterly taxes, in the next month, sometime you've got a deadline for taxes. Maybe you've got a deadline for paying suppliers. Okay. So find those different kinds of things, figure out when they are. Do you have open invitations? Have you been invited to things that you have not RSVP'd to? Right? These are all things, right? But sometimes we get an invite and we're like, I don't know yet. And then it just sits open. Close them. All these open tabs, guys, they make our brain work slower when we have open tabs. We're just like our computers. Is everything happening this month actually in your calendar? You'd be amazed. Every month there's someone that's like, including myself. I think it was me last month where I was like, guys, I did not have something in my calendar, but it's happening and I was supposed to be there. Okay. Are there things that you want to add? Do you want date nights? Do you want to hang out with friends? Do you need some social stuff? Is there those things that are booked or aren't booked yet? Are you attending events? What do you need to bring to those events? Are you taking gifts? Are you taking food? What do you need to prepare ahead of time? Do you need to buy something? Do you need to make something? When are you going to make it? Like, I kid you not when I say, hey, if you're going to a birthday party and you're like, oh, I'm going to a birthday party that day. Okay, well, open the birthday party thing in your calendar and say, oh, I should be taking a card and a gift. What card and a gift am I going to buy? When am I going to buy that? When do I have time in my calendar to do errands? And like block time and say, purchase birthday gift and put it in for an hour, right? Like these are the little things that help us start catching up and feeling ahead. Moms, when do you need babysitters this month? That is always a good one to think about. Okay, that hopefully gives you a good idea of some of these things, okay? Lisa, she's like, I'm going away 4 days away. Me too. I'm going away for 4 days too. Anyway, I'm very excited about it. I'm going to camp. So not super glamorous, but it's going to be amazing. All right. So, and Emily's going to be there, right? I'm not making that up. You're going to be there. Yeah. And we get to meet in person. Okay. I'm so excited about it. All of a sudden I was like, wait, yes, that was you I had the conversation with. Anyway, it's going to be so good. Traveling's great. I'm so excited for you, Lisa. Okay. So Jay, let's talk about this for a minute. This is why we do this. Okay. So for those of you that understand and you know what we're doing, go for it. Start today. Start working through chronologically, hard copy, digital copy, making sure everything's synced up, that you've got everything in there, okay? Go for it. I want to address Jay's comment because it kind of slid in there in the middle of all of the traveling excitement things. But Jay's just like, so I just remembered a thing that showed up nowhere on past priorities, and it's making me feel overwhelmed. That will happen, okay? So just because that happens, it doesn't mean that you haven't been intentional, that you haven't been planning, that you haven't been following the system. It just means that something slipped your mind because shock of all shocks, you're human, okay? And that happens, and that's okay. The beautiful thing about this is October has not started yet, and you can readjust. So rather than walking chronologically through this month, if it is more supportive for you to go back with this in mind and look, okay, should my 3 priorities for October shift? Should I remove one of them and put this one in there? Should I readjust some things? Then now's the time to do it. And here's what will happen. There will always be stuff that comes up that we're like, oh, that wasn't on my list. Oh, I didn't expect that. Stuff like that happens all the time to all of us. And so, but here's what it is, where the value lies. The value lies in having a consistent planning process like this that you can lean on, where you know you've got your foundation for your month, so that when something pops up, you're like, okay, I'm going to adjust. I'm going to figure this out. So that is my encouragement, is to stay calm, keep breathing, breathe through it, and just really go, okay, do I need to adjust priorities? What can I do? And change your plans. I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes as we work through chronologically. Okay, so let's do that, and then we will close up the call. All right. Jennifer's like, I forgot to put September 30th on my calendar. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Like, you just forgot that it was, oh, there's a day here, and now, and it happens. And here's the thing. It happens to all of us, and it does not matter how long you've been planning. I will still I'm sitting here going, okay, this is good, but like, this is missing. Why does this look so funny? Like, what is going on? And so it's totally all right. And yeah, Lisa, you are going to have a bit of a slow start to October when you're planning that much like space after her surgery. So yeah, may it all go well, believing for great things. But yeah, that's a long recovery time. So yeah. All right. How is, like, let's see where I got to. I kind of jumped around. I was working and then I was like, oh, I forgot about something. So I think I definitely jumped around. I just made it to like October 8th and was like, oh, I'm leaving for camp. When am I packing? And hadn't quite figured that out yet. So that's where I got to. But how did everyone else go? How did we get? Did everyone get to a specific date? Let us know. Emily, oh, thank you for the reminder to pack. Yeah, you got to pack sometimes. So I'm like, oh, laundry, right. Okay, so the last time I can do laundry before camp is the Saturday, and then I have to pack. So on the Sunday, probably. Anyway, yeah, these things that we have to think about, right? And Courtney, love it. I can tell I'm new to this because it's taken me a very long time to think of everything. And that is okay. as you do this over and over, it will get easier and faster, and you'll be able to think about all these things that you need. This is why I started with like a big list of random stuff that might trigger some ideas for what you actually need to do. So yes. Yeah, yay for the 6-month planning party package. In 6 months, you will be in a very different place. I can promise you that. Okay, that just sparked something that I needed to write down on paper. Okay. Oh, Jennifer, that's so good. I got to the last day of my founders promo. That's amazing. Like, such good progress. All right, you guys. So you all have some time booked in your calendar to finish your plan as needed, which is amazing. You guys did such good work today. I know a few people had to pop off because they needed to go do school pickup. But does anyone have a question, thoughts, feedback, something that stood out for them, anything that they would like to share? I already said ask a question about, so I'll just repeat that. Let us know. You can do that either in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself, say hi, and ask away. Yeah, well, and then we'll just wrap up before we go back to doing all the things and actually making it happen. Because now it's about executing, right? We've got the plan, we've got the idea, and now it is going, okay, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know what these next steps are. Now I need to commit to myself that I am worth it, that I can do this, that I want to do this, and I'm going to follow through. And also acknowledging that we need grace for understanding when life happens and things don't always go as planned, and like that's totally okay. So yeah. Oh, such an interesting question. Emily asked if I have an affiliate program. I do. It's just set or active. But yes. So hopefully by the next time I open the planning party bundle in December, we could have that set up, and I would open it to people only who have been part of planning parties. So good question. I'm going to write that down so that I add it to my list of, just put it on my future. I've got a bunch of, this is my quarter planning that I went through. Joseph and I had a strategy meeting yesterday going, okay, what are the most important things? What do I need your help with? What can I delegate? What are all the things? So I'm just going to pop that note on my plan for the next planning party launch. And if I get to it, I get to it. And you guys will be the first to know. I love it. Emily's like mind blown emoji. And I love what Dora said. Dora says, I feel so much weight lifted with these 90 minutes. So yay. That is what we like to hear. Because here's the thing. Most of us know in our heads the next things that we should be doing, but if we never write it down, if we never take the time to put it on paper, everything lives in our head, and that can be really overwhelming. So it's about getting it down. Like, you didn't need me to tell you what your plan was. You guys created your own plan. You just needed me to show up, create the space and the structure where I could help pull it out of you, but it was there, right? I didn't tell any of you what all of your steps should be. Oh, I love that. Courtney asked a question. What are some of the ways you guys keep all those random things in one place so you can remember to schedule them later? I like Lisa's suggestion. She writes it down with an N, S, or L for like now, soon, or later. That's a great little tip. Actually, on my Trello card for this week, this is what I said must do was my first list. Next and nice. So it's like these things have to get done this week. These are next in line. And these would be nice. Just thought I'd point out, it's almost the end of Wednesday, day 3. I have not touched Next or Nice. And I'm just praying I can finish my must-do list. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do when I didn't run my business for 2 months? Right, I'm paying for that now by all the catch-up I have to do. Anyway, it's all good. It's all good. Another thing that a lot of people do, they will keep, for instance, a Trello card or a Google Keep note, or just the note document that you have on your phone, or something that will be like random things or a list of things. And whenever anything pops in their mind, like for instance, now I have a really easy grocery list and my system is really great for that. But before I did, that would be something I'd add to that like random list and be like, oh, I need butter. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need to get this from the market, or like random like errands, or like, oh, I forgot I had to have that conversation with someone. I need to email this person. So like all those random things, keeping them in a note. And then what you could do is build in a bit of a routine where at the end of your workday or in the morning when you're planning your day, you always go through that random list and you put those tasks where they actually belong, either in your calendar as something to do or on a task list for a certain day or something like that. So that is another way that I know a lot of people do that. Jay said, this time I put them in the same document. I'm putting all of these planning party notes, but need to highlight them and put them at the top of the doc so that they stand out. Yeah, absolutely. I would just try to keep one place, ideally on your phone, where you can put all the things that you're thinking of that come up for you. And then you can create your own system for how you're going to find those at home and where you're going to put them. So awesome. Anybody else have any questions, thoughts, feedback? How's everyone feeling? Just let me know in the chat, or just unmute yourself. Tell us, how are you feeling now? If you think about the beginning of the call and maybe it wasn't dramatic, but just like, how are you feeling about October now? Let us know, because it's encouraging. Lisa says, good. I love the walk through the calendar, and I even have an easy month. Yeah. So it's just like, okay, I got a walk through. It's good. Emily feeling so much better. Jennifer's feeling clearer about my launch. I was jumbled before, just had to make the time to think about it. And honestly, that's the biggest thing, is just making the time to think about it. So yeah, I love that. Love that, love that, love that. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today live. Ooh, Courtney, that's so good. Let me read some of these. I realized like I was reading them and I didn't read them out loud. Dora said, so much better. Looking forward to it. It looks less overwhelming. Courtney said, I'm feeling empowered with strategies for how to be intentional, which is so good. Love it. And thank you guys for those of you watching the replay. Thank you for joining in and spending the time to watch this. I hope you enjoyed it. And the replay will always go out within 48 hours. But the goal is usually the next day. It just depends on what the day of the week is that is the next day. But within 48 hours, you guys will always get an email with a link to the replay. So if you ever do miss the live, just know that the replay will always come your way. All right, thanks everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your day and an incredible October.